and welcome. I am the Sterling and today we'll be playing Timberborn. In the last episode, we took care of all the beavers' basic needs. Science, food, timber, and most importantly, water. And on top of that, we built 2 reservoirs. This one and this one. And this has all set us up very comfortably. And now we're ready to start growing our population. And in this episode, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So sit back, grab a cold one, and let's get started. I've got a lot planned for the future. This mega metropolis that I've got planned to build is going to take a lot of resources. I'm going to need timber, and lots of it. I'm going to need iron. Once again, lots of it. I'm going to need dynamite, and once again, lots of it. But most importantly, the thing I'm going to need to pull this off is a population, and a big population. And to be able to have a big population, we're going to need to be able to feed it. We're going to need much more food than what we're producing and a hell of a lot more water. And so in this episode, that's actually my main goal. We're not going to actually be growing our population to the level needed for the build, but we will actually start growing the population in this episode. So the first thing we're going to do this episode is put down more breeding pods. And they're just going to be plopped right here. I'm going to add 2 more. Now I know that's a big jump from 1, but this episode I'm actually hoping we can get on top of food production to be able to cater for this. And once our population starts growing, I'm going to need a lot more barracks. But once again, I just want to remind everybody that everything we're doing at the moment is temporary. I actually plan to build the city somewhere in the middle of the map. Not sure where yet, but somewhere in the middle of the map. And that's going to involve filling in sections of the river, leveling other parts. There's a whole big thing we're going to want to do. Looking this way, I think a map might be over there. I don't know. I'm going to have a bit of a play and work out where the actual center of the map is. But I know that I kind of want to start our city in the middle of it and sprawl out. So now we've laid the 2 new breeding pods. We're also now going to have to ramp up food production. But to do this, I'm going to need to lay a bridge. Ta-da! We now will have a bridge. So now I'll be able to start planting farms on both sides of the river. At the moment, we have only 1 farmhouse and they're prioritizing planting at the moment. I actually want to put down 2 farmhouses and have 4 beavers actually working the farms. That way I can have 2 beavers planting at all times and 2 beavers harvesting. But on top of this, where we've got the farmhouse is not the best place for it. As you see, the green outline is actually where I can plant. A majority of it is actually in an area that we can't grow anything because it's unfertile. Now I could go ahead and plant another farmhouse on the other side of the river, but once again, we've got the same issue. But if I can find a way to put our 2 farmhouses in the middle of the river, then that should branch out into both sides of the fertile land. And so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to come down and grab my single level platforms, and I'm just going to place a little platform here like so. And then when I put down the farmhouse, as you can see, it branches out on both sides of the river, taking up a significantly larger area of fertile land. Now, you're probably looking at the top going, well, Sterling, a lot of that is actually berries. What are you going to do? Well, moving forwards, I am going to have to move the berries. But for the moment, this should do the trick. And there's our 2 farmhouses down. Next on the agenda, our industrial lumber mill is in the bloody way. This is farmland, not industrial. We're going to need to move it. And so once again, I'm just going to put a platform here, put down a new industrial lumber mill, and then whack down a power wheel in the middle. Not sure if that will work because of the dam, but soon going to find out. But it does get it out of the way of our nice fertile land. Next is our deep water pump. It's also in our fertile land. Don't like it there. Want it moved. You're probably seeing a trend at this point. Yes, you are correct. I'm just going to keep putting things in the river. Why not? So I need platforms, add the roads, water barrels for storage, deep water pump. And once they build that, I can demolish this. So now that's another thing out of our bloody way. Now what else is in our fertile land that we don't want? How about these bloody inventors' huts? They're in the way. Well, one of them is anyway. Well, they won't be over there, so that's where they're going. Now you're probably sitting there going, hey Sterling, you're demolishing a lot of stuff. You're wasting resources. Don't panic. When you demolish something, you get the resources back. So all these things I will then be able to recycle. So get comfortable, because no doubt I'll probably do this a lot. I'm even going to go so far as to move our storage. I'm going to move roads out of the way that don't need to be. I want to utilize as much of this greenery as I possibly can because we need as much food as we can possibly get so I can really ramp up our population. And don't worry, the breeding pods that I put in are not in our fertile land. Now, this is the first lot of stuff that we're going to put in. But sadly, I'm not going to have enough timber to be getting stuck into all this. Especially, I don't even think I got timber planks planks? I got 6. Okay, so no, we're gonna need more timber. And we're kind of running out. So there's a few trees down here I can still cut down, but all in all, our timber is starting to get a bit scarce. So I'm going to need to start planting timber. And to do this, I need to come down to wood, and I'm gonna need a forestry. To unlock it, I need 30 science. We got 43, so fantastic. We're gonna unlock that and stick it probably somewhere in the middle. I want to get as much land as I can. So maybe there, that looks pretty good. Unlock, done. Then just build a path, fantastic. Now we can plant up this entire area. If we come down to plant trees and bushes, we have a whole selection of different types of trees we can get, all giving us different resources and different time frames. For instance, a coffee bush gives us, well, coffee. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Blueberries give us, well, take your guess. Now, when we get into the more timber-based trees, that's a funny thing to say. For instance, birch only takes 7 days to grow, but we only get 1 log out of it. Where on the other end of the scale, oak takes 30 days to grow, but we get 8 logs out of it, which that's great. Now, most people are probably sitting there going, well, Sterling, plant up birch. It's quick, doesn't take long. No, we're not doing that. I'm going the oak. We've still got a few trees dotted around the place, so I'm not overly worried about timber just at this very moment. And all the new buildings I'm actually building will be built out of recycled materials of our existing buildings that we destroy. So I'm happy to wait the 30 days to get the oak. But before we go planting any trees, we actually have to consider just how far the lumberjack flags reach, as indicated by the green outline you see. That's not enough. They're in the wrong spot. So if I move them around, I could probably find a better place for them. How do they look here? Yeah, I reckon about there is probably our best place we can put them. 1 there and 1 there. Fantastic. Done. Now I can just go ahead and delete those 2 lumberjack flags. In fact, while I'm at it, I can delete these 2 as well. Cleaning house. So now I know where I can plant our oak. So let's go ahead and plant that now. I will go ahead and delete any of the trees that don't grow. I'm just being lazy. And there we go. Now you've probably noticed I've left this little space open here in the middle. That's because I've decided I'm going to plant some birch for the moment, only so then we can get a quick amount of timber here and there just in case there's a buffer. I know I gave the big thing. Yes, I know. But better be safe than sorry. Now we've given them plenty to do to start off the episode, so let's hit play and let them get to work. Wow, did that take a long time. We are now on day 17 of cycle 4, and this is actually about our 2nd or 3rd drought. And what took us so long is I had to keep building up our planks. I just couldn't get enough of them. And as you probably guessed, all these bloody platforms cost 6 planks each. Do the math, because I sure bloody didn't when I planned it. But no harm done, we're in a good position. Though our food could be better. We got dangerously low at one point. Luckily, I prioritized building the farms, and ever since, it's been good. And the reason why our food became such an issue is we now have 20 beavers. We've gone up quite a lot. The lowest we've seen so far is 8 beavers, and then it skyrocketed. Hence, I had to pause a couple of the breeding pods. I'm trying to run before I can walk, I think, but it's not a big issue. We're in a good position now. For a while there, I just kept on building the small industrial piles, thinking, saving resources, and then I came to realize a small industrial pile has a capacity of 20 and it only costs 4 logs. But a large industrial pile has a capacity of 180 and it costs 12 logs. I was like, it's a no-brainer. Why on earth am I building these small industrial piles? I should be building big ones. Ta-da! Built some big ones. And while I was at it, I built some medium warehouses as well to store our blueberries and to store our kohlrabi. I was building them all here and then I realized, hang on a second, the whole point of this episode was to utilize as much of this fertile land as possible, and I'm building within the fertile land. Hence, they're gone now. They're over here in the non-fertile land. Nonetheless, this is a great start to the episode. We've moved everything out of the fertile land and we're ready to start seriously farming because we have all this area now that we can play with. But growing the population doesn't just mean I have to grow the food. I also need to grow water. And one deep water pump is just not going to cut it. So guess what? We're building a second. Fantastic. Now, Once they build that, we should be getting plenty of water coming in. Because I've noticed that this single deep water pump actually drops the level of our water in this reservoir quite a lot every single season. And the droughts are getting longer and longer already. So I am getting a little nervous about the amount of water we've got. So sooner or later, I'm going to have to start getting a bit creative and find bigger and better ways to store water. No doubt it's going to involve dynamite, but we don't have any. We have no means of making it just yet. And I think we're quite far off any sort of production of dynamite. I'm still just struggling to keep timber planks at this point. So dynamite is quite far away. But now we've got a healthy population and we've got 6 unemployed beavers, which that's good. That means we've got plenty of beavers to spare. But the good news is now we're ready to start planning out the farmland, which is going to take a little bit of remodeling. So the first thing we're going to do is delete these water tanks as they're in the bloody way. And we're going to demolish this road. Much cleaner. Next on the agenda, we're going to clean this road up a little bit and get rid of all this. Done. Now starting on this side, if you have a look, we can go all the way down to this corner here. And so that's what we're going to do. So we'll grab our cleaning tool. We're going to delete this bit here. And then we're going to actually delete a path up here, like so. Because as you probably guessed, I'm going to run a road straight through the middle of our farm there. And we're also going to delete these 2 lumberjack flags and this road, as we're going to run a path down here and across here. Once again, removing these berries. Fantastic. Now that we've put that road in, it should extend the length that our farmhouse can go. It has. We can now come down to here for the farmhouse on this side and down here on this farmhouse. Now these berries are in the way, so we're going to mark these to be deleted as well. Don't panic, we've still got all these berries and I do plan to start planting them myself somewhere more appropriate. But for the moment, these ones are in the way. Now I've given them a whole bunch more work to do, so once again, I'm going to hit play and let them get to work. Fantastic. Now that's all done. And they actually did it quite quickly. It's only been a couple of days. Funnily enough, it helps when you've actually got the things you need to build the things you want. Go figure. Now, I know a lot of you are probably looking at all these barrels going, Sterling, you got far too many barrels for these 2 pumps. I assume so anyway. The reason why I've put so many barrels in is because I plan in the future to extend this platform and add another 2 of these pumps. Look at the Sterling planning for the future. That's not like me. Good news is we can now put a road where we didn't want to. I was going to actually say put a road where we want to put it, but still getting used to the controls, I guess. Fantastic. Now looking at this farmhouse, these trees are in the bloody way. So we're going to mark these also to be demolished. And while we're at, we're going to demolish these 2 lumberjack flags. Fantastic. And finally, we can now join this road here, giving us plenty of room to start planting all our crops. Now, bad news, while I've been sitting here, our water has dried up, which is not good. So I've had to open up this floodgate and I'm going to allow what little water we have in there to then come into this area here, making sure that our food doesn't dry up and die. We're also going to turn off these 2 deep water pumps. I might have to get into the habit of every time we have a drought that I pause these 2 water pumps. Luckily, we've only got 0.7 of a day left of the drought. This may have been an issue otherwise. Crisis over, water's back flowing. So we can now come over here, reopen these deep water pumps. Now that was a little scary for me because now that just shows how quickly things can turn bad. I might have to start looking into maybe finding a way to store the water in here and have an even larger area. But for the moment, I can only work with what I've got because ideally I'd like the sun not to set because ideally I would want to actually dynamite this reservoir down to the height of this river below, giving us the ability to store even more water in here. But to get dynamite, we need to build an explosive factory, and that will take 400 science, 30 planks, 30 gears that we're not even producing yet, and then on top of all that, 30 iron beams, which we are nowhere near ready to start producing. And then, even after all that, we have to start collecting bad water to produce dynamite. And then level 1 dynamite that only goes down 1 block will still take 600 science to unlock. We are quite far off that at this point. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to actually have to put in 2 more of these deep water pumps. Because while we're not in a drought, the water is flowing freely, meaning that this bottom reservoir and the top reservoir are constantly being topped up. And we're actually wasting quite a bit of water just letting it escape down the bottom here. So if we build 2 more of these pumps, during the wet season, we're collecting more water. And so then when it does come time for a drought and we switch these off, we've actually stored plenty of water in the barrels. So 2 more water pumps planned and ready to go in. This is getting thirsty for resources. Tell you what. Luckily, we have 121 planks. So should be able to build that pretty quick. But we're also starting to drop on food. Got plenty of berries, but we're using them to reproduce our beavers. So now it is officially time to start putting down more farmland. And hopefully 2 farmhouses will be capable of actually farming this area that I've marked out. Unfortunately though, I am going to have to end the episode here. As after editing, I've come to realize that this episode is far too long. And so I've decided I'm going to have to cut it in half. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.